What's up, everybody? It's Harry Tidgewell from Shot Clock Sports. Today, I'm joined by Carter Masterson from Carter Masterson Media. Carter, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today, Harry.
All right, guys. So, getting into stuff today, we're going to be talking about college football, which is starting up tomorrow, Saturday, August 31st. NFL season kicks off next week, and then we got the end of the MLB season. So, hopping right into things, let's start with college football. Week one, we're going to have some big matchups coming up. Carter, what are you excited to watch?
I'm really excited for that Miami-Florida matchup. That's got to be one of my favorite ones. There's multiple good ones, but that one's definitely my favorite. This Florida team isn't anything too special, but them playing at the Swamp versus a Miami team with high expectations, that's a game that could see upset, but that's one I'm super excited for. Another one I'm excited for less than the other one. I'm excited to see Alabama back in action. It's only versus Western Kentucky, but
Mm-hmm.
that new look team, it'll just be cool to see them out there without Saban. I've had to watch them with Saban for so long. As an Auburn fan, it's been a little torturous, but now I get to see them without him. But I'm sure they'll still take care of business there.
Yeah, definitely. When you say like how strong they finished last season, if that's going to carry over into this season with the coaching change. One matchup also I'm excited for is Texas A&M at versus Notre Dame in College Station. I think this is a huge matchup for both teams. Really, is an opportunity for both teams to show how great they really are, and both have returning injured quarterbacks. You got Riley Leonard, and then geez, I'm blanking on
Connor Wegman.
Connor. What's his last name? I just had it up.
Wegman.
Wegman. Yeah, I mean Connor Wegman was great through the first three games last year. Threw for I think 900 yards, 8 touchdowns in only 3 games. Got injured in that Auburn game. Then Riley Leonard coming in from Duke, another guy that got injured, really was on track to have a great season. So we'll see. I mean, this matchup has big question marks on both teams, but I think both teams are really ready to go. This Notre Dame defense has a lot of returning players, which I do think could give Texas A&M a hard time. But obviously, I also think Notre Dame can have a hard time going into College Station. Very hostile environment. So it'll be an interesting one to see how that shakes out. Texas A&M is actually, I believe, 2.5 point favorites, but 47.5 point over under. I think it could be a very offensive. It could be a very good offensive matchup, but or be a very low scoring defensive matchup. It'll be exciting to see how it turns out, though. Another matchup I'm really excited for is Penn State going into West Virginia. I think this one has upset written all over it, with how not only is West Virginia a very hostile environment, but Penn State, new offensive coordinator. We're not exactly sure how that's going to look. And I think West Virginia, they have their quarterback and running back returning, which just goes for a dominant running attack that I think could maybe get them out to an early lead where Penn State could struggle at the gate. What do you think of that matchup?
I think Penn State's a very good team. I do worry for them a little bit as West Virginia is very talented. Uh, that quarterback over there is special. Once again, I'm blanking on his name as well, but he's very good. I think Garrett Green.
Yeah.
Uh, he's very good, but I think Drew Aller and that lethal Penn State rushing attack should be enough to get it done. But they lost some pieces. They lost Keandre Lambert-Smith to Auburn. They lost some big pieces of that offense. They lost Olu Fashanu. So it's going to be interesting to see him out there without them. But I expect the defense to be able to hold their own and escape in a close one. But it's definitely one that could turn south for the Nittany Lions. As they're a team that has playoff aspirations. If they lose week one, they've got to win a lot more games than they'd like to in Big Ten play.
Yeah, I definitely say. I mean, they don't got Michigan on the schedule this year, but I think Ohio State's definitely a tough game for them. So they could afford one more loss, but you'd hate to have that come in week one, especially when you got USC and Wisconsin on the road. Those are some big games that you could definitely see going the other way. Moving on, let's go to our Heisman picks. Do you have anyone in particular that you see taking home the trophy this year?
For me, it's hard to pick against a guy like Jalen Milroe coming off the season he had last year where he came into late contention for it. But I don't know if we're going to see him fire out the gates like he played last year. So I don't think he's going to win it, although he's in a lot of people's conversations. I don't think Carson Beck is quite flashy enough. this is the year I think Travis Hunter gets it done. And I don't know if that's a crazy take to say as a receiver, but he plays both sides of the ball. Maybe Colorado won't be in national championship contention. Maybe they will. They're solid, but that week 1 performance certainly didn't give us college football champion aspiration vibes. But they're a good team. And I mean Hunter, you saw him put up 3 touchdowns on 120 yards, and he played lockdown defense on the other side of the ball. I believe if he can stay healthy and put up 6 picks and 12 receiving touchdowns on 1,000 yards, that might be a Heisman season.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to go against that, especially, last night against North Dakota State, he really carried that Colorado team. When they needed to get stuff done, it was going to Travis Hunter, whether it was third down or in the red zone late in the game. You know that they were targeting number 12. I'll go with another pick that I think isn't exactly on everyone's radar, but Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Senior, he's coming in now with more experience. And last year wasn't a bad year, threw for over 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, only 5 picks. And I also think this Ole Miss team is going to be in contention for one of the best teams in college football. Obviously, they have that electric offense. And I think that could really propel Jackson Dart into Heisman conversation. I'm not exactly sure if he's going to be able to hang around all season, though, when you do talk about guys like Jalen Milroe or Travis Hunter. But I do see him winning the Heisman as a serious possibility. And Lane Kiffin's offense can really just help out quarterbacks so much. And I think Jackson Dart has the tools, has the mechanics to be the best quarterback in college football. And maybe with the exception of Travis Hunter in the Heisman's a quarterback award. So unless Travis Hunter does something phenomenal, which he is on pace for, but only through 1 game, I think Jackson Dart will definitely be in conversations for the Heisman. All right, finally, talking about college football, who are some, with the 12-team playoff this year, who are some possible sleeper teams that you find to be underrated in the preseason and maybe not making the playoff, but being in contention for their conference or being in contention for one of the final spots in the 12-team playoff?
My Auburn Tigers are being underrated. I hate to be a homer, but their win total set at 7.5. And it's heavily favored to the under at 7. And they do have a tough schedule. They got to play teams like Oklahoma at home, Arkansas at home, who looked very good last night. Granted, it was against Arkansas Pine Bluff. But they've got some tough games, including Georgia on the road. They've got Bama at home, or Bama on the road, and Texas A&M at home, and Missouri at home. But outside of those 4 games, if they can win one of those and take care of business, they go 9-3. And I think that it's very, very possible that they do that. Another team that, hits close to us, as we, of course, met at the Syracuse broadcasting camp, is the Syracuse Orange. They've got Kyle McCord, who was put in a bad situation last year, following in the footsteps of C.J. Stroud. I don't think he's an NFL-level quarterback, but I think he's a great college football quarterback. And I think that team with Gadsden, LaQuint Allen, and that pretty good defense, they can make a push, win 8-9 games. If they win 9 games, they probably won't make the playoffs. They're probably on the outside looking into the bubble. But I think if they can squeak out a 10th in there, they go 10-2. The Syracuse Orange are a serious threat for the 11th or 10th seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, actually, totally. I was going to go Syracuse with my pick. I think the Kyle McCord transfer is tremendously helpful to this football team. And when you factor in their running game, along with the return of tight end, why am I forgetting all the names today? Tight end hurt last year. Gaston. I think he'll be a tremendous help to this offense. And with this Orange not having a very hard schedule, I do think it's possible that they finish with maybe 1, 2, 3 losses and are definitely in conversations about making the playoff. There would definitely be questions once they reach the playoff with competing with these top teams, saying they only have one ranked opponent, I believe, in Miami and Miami and NC State, uh, which will have some question marks. But I mean, if you go 10-2, it's hard to deny a team from a 12-team playoff. So I definitely think they'll have a chance at making it. Another team, well, this isn't exactly a team, but I'll say there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that I do think could make a run. You look at Kansas and Arizona are two teams I really like, really strong quarterback play, and will be absolutely electric on offense. I think both those teams could easily come out of the Big 12, maybe even win the conference, get that first round bye, and that would set them up great in the playoffs. We'll have to see how it goes in the Big 12. Obviously, a lot of changes. Utah coming in. I think the Big 12 is a very underrated conference. You got Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Colorado, still a question mark, but can almost beat anybody with how good that offense is at times. Yeah, I think almost every team in the Big 12 is slept on in a sense that no one's ranked higher than 12th, which is Utah. But I think any of those teams are possible of being a top 5 team in college football this year. We're going to move on. Actually, let's go right back, Big 12. How about Colorado? What did we think of that game last night? Obviously, you touched on Travis Hunter. Very close win against North Dakota State, who's obviously a very good football team at the FCS level. But what did you take away from that?
I took away that a lot of people like to overreact. They won by 5 points, and people are going after them saying, oh, look at them. They just beat an FCS team by 5 points. This isn't an FCS team. This isn't what NC State just did and went out there and played a nail-biter with Western Carolina. This is North Dakota State, the runner-up to the FCS playoffs last year, multiple-time champion. But there was some concerns for Colorado. That offense, once again, looked very good. Shedeur went out there and balled out. The only pick he threw was not his fault. It bounced around off different guys and landed in a Bison's hand. But at the same time, I wasn't too impressed. That team made it way too close. That defense was bending way too much, and I think it all was perfectly summed up in that last play when they let him catch the ball and the QB stat pad a little bit at the end instead of knocking the ball down. I think they've got a chance. Right now in my preseason predictions, I have them going 7-5, and I think that would be a struggle because their schedule is unreal. But it all starts next week at Nebraska. If they can beat Nebraska, they're looking good because Nebraska is a very good football team this year. But I don't think they'll be able to compete with the Giants in the Big 12. I think Kansas State, Utah are going to the playoffs, and if they don't get in, I think one of Kansas or Arizona will, because Arizona and Kansas have the best 2 quarterbacks in college football, in my opinion, when they're healthy, in Jalen Daniels and in Noah Fafita. But that conference is just too loaded, because that's just 4 teams I named that are contending for playoffs, but also you've got Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon. I think their quarterback play will end up holding them back. But Iowa State, UCF, Texas Tech, BYU, West Virginia are also all very good teams. So I just think the conference is too good for them to compete. But you never know. There's going to be one sleeper team that comes out of there. It could be them.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I think their offense is electric. One of the best in college football. I mean, with Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, and they're so explosive at times. But yeah, like you said, that defense did not look great. Just seemed to be getting torn apart. Some drives they would get a stop, but I feel like North Dakota State was putting together a solid drive every time, and then sometimes Colorado was just getting a big sack to end it. But they weren't getting a lot of 3-and-outs, which you would hope to have seen. And I also think the coaching will be an issue. I think last night trying to run out the clock and throwing the ball on first down when there's 2 minutes left was a terrible idea. I mean, just run the football, especially if you're going to throw it short, get a completion so the clock keeps running. I don't know why you're taking shots like that late in the game when you have the lead. So I think there will be questions on that. And when you face better teams, they're going to make you pay. I mean, North Dakota State almost came away with it there. They were 4 yards short of winning that game. But yeah, if you're in that situation against a team like Arizona or Kansas State, or like you said, Utah, Kansas, those teams are really going to make you pay. And I think that's something Colorado's got to figure out before they enter the Big 12 gauntlet. So moving over to the NFL now, we had two big signings over the past week. That was CeeDee Lamb, his extension with the Cowboys, and Brandon Ayuk, his extension with the 49ers. Which one of these deals will you say have had a bigger impact on their team?
I think CeeDee Lamb signing for the Cowboys definitely makes a little bit bigger of an impact. I wouldn't say it's massively more important because Ayuk, in my opinion, is the best receiver on the San Francisco 49ers. But CeeDee Lamb is a top 2 receiver, maybe top 3 if you want to argue Jamar Chase is better. But I think it's pretty clear it's him, Chase, and Jefferson that are just better than everyone else, and then Adams is very good as well. But CeeDee Lamb reset the receiver market again. I mean, he got absolutely paid, and that is going to cause Jamar Chase to get absolutely paid. So Jamar Chase liked seeing it happen because now he's got some more leverage as they're both very comparable. But I think that Cowboys team needed a weapon as that receiver room looks bleak without him there because the Niners without him still have Debo. They still have Juwan Jennings. They've still got Ricky Pearsall. Even though I know there's been injury questions there. They've got some players around them. For the Cowboys, they got not a lot. I think CeeDee Lamb's the focal point of that offense. But also for the Cowboys, it's who do you go with next? They needed to sign 2 out of the 3. And now it's do they sign Parsons or do they sign Dak? I don't know. But I think getting CeeDee there was huge for them. And now they can move on to their next phase of re-signing with a cornerstone receiver.
Yeah, I'll agree with you that I think CeeDee Lamb was definitely more impactful for the Cowboys than Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. Obviously, yeah, I think Ayuk was huge for the 49ers to be the front runners in the NFC. I think without him, there is a lot of question on who will be, though there's definitely more question on who's representing the NFC at the end of the season. I think Ayuk definitely leads the 49ers being preseason favorites. I mean, they're the NFC champs from last year and have their whole offense returning with McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk. I think they're going to be really hard to stop once again. And it's keeping surrounding Brock Purdy with weapons is only going to lead to him becoming more developed and a better quarterback. I think leading to him taking a step forward. I think maybe if you would take an Ayuk out of the equation, maybe we do see some possible regression with less targets to throw to. But yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb was absolutely necessary for the Cowboys. I mean, their wide receiver 2, I think, is Brandon Cooks, who, don't get me wrong, Brandon Cooks is a great wide receiver 2, but can never be a wide receiver 1 on a team that's hoping to compete for the NFC. So I think CeeDee Lamb was a huge signing. And yeah, while it does raise the question of who are you going to re-sign, Dak or Micah Parsons, I think CeeDee Lamb was absolutely necessary to this year's success, because I do think the Cowboys could easily compete this year. And I mean, if you got to blow it up after this year, I'm sure they're willing to take the Super Bowl over maybe losing Dak. I about what you said, I think they'll probably go after re-signing Micah Parsons. I just think he's too much of a generational talent to let go, while I think Dak is replaceable. But yeah, it'll be interesting what they do after this season. I think this season will show. If Dak has another great year like he did last year, there'll be some questions on who they re-sign. But also, if he flames out in the playoffs, I'm sure they might start looking a new direction and working on that Micah Parsons extension. Moving over now to the MLB, we got the end of the season coming up. And 2 MVP frontrunners, AL and NL. We got Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. There's been a lot of debate recently on who's been having the more impressive season. Aaron Judge obviously chasing 60 home runs, chasing his own record that he set in 2022.
Again.
And then Ohtani, has the quickest 40-40 season and is on the verge of doing 50-50, which is something I don't think has ever been done before. Is that correct?
I don't think it has, but I don't know.
I don't think it has, because I don't think any of those 50 home run guys are stealing 50 bases. But what would you say is more impressive between the two?
It's hard to compare these seasons. They're both so good at baseball. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. They're just so unreal. It's great to see Ohtani doing this, coming off that injury, and I think that's what makes it more impressive to me. This dude is spending so much of his time every week rehabbing his elbow, and then he goes out there and he hits 2 home runs off you, steals 3 bags. Like, you just can't stop the guy. He's unreal. Once he gets out there pitching, he just, that contract, like, I know it's expensive, but it's just gonna look so good. When he's going 2 ways, he's just that special. But I mean, it really does say something to Judge that he can go and do this twice. He last I heard, he was on pace to break his record, if not just under the pace he needs to be. So he's gonna have a chance at getting to. I think he needs to get to, 64 now? Or is it 63?
63.
Oh, I can't wait till we're split screening college football games again to watch Aaron Judge's third at-bat of the day versus the Texas Rangers on a random Saturday. But it's cool to see. I'm not a Yankees fan, but you got to appreciate greatness when you see it, and he is greatness right now. He's sneaky 31 years old. I thought he was still young.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's doing this, starting to age, they both are at this point. They're both in their 30s. It's impressive. It's super impressive.
Yeah, I'll actually flip against your side of the argument. I'll take Aaron Judge's season being more impressive. I think 333 average with 51 home runs is absolutely insane, especially for a guy that's not juicing. And these numbers have only been seen by Barry Bonds with the Giants, and this is the greatest offensive season since. In 123 RBIs, 1,200 OPS is just insane. I saw the stat the other day that Aaron Judge's slugging percentage is higher than the league average OPS, which is just mind-blowing. It's insane how he does it. Obviously, what Ohtani doing is extraordinary, but what I do like to take into account is that stolen base numbers have been polluted more than ever, and that's obviously helping Ohtani out. I don't think if this was in 2022 before the stealing bases, 2 disengagements, I don't think Ohtani's doing 40-40. That's something that has been made capable by this rule change. And Judge is also on a team that doesn't steal bases. Judge obviously isn't as quick as Ohtani, but is also a quick guy. And I think could easily have 25, 30 stolen bases this year. Also, something I'll throw in is he's been playing center field for the Yankees this year. It has been tremendous. One of the best defensive center fielders also that a lot of people don't realize or don't take into account. He's just at his size, his speed and athleticism are something that I've never seen before. And I think what he's doing is phenomenal. And I think at this point, honestly, he is more valuable to the Yankees at the plate than he is if he's walked and he's on first base. That's how good at the plate he is. He's always doing damage. And I think both teams, I've seen some say that obviously having Soto has helped Judge out, but let's not forget that Ohtani has Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts alongside him, who are just both great offensive weapons, all-around weapons. But I do think, obviously, Ohtani is having a tremendous season. I think it's so hard to go against what Aaron Judge is doing. And finally, wrapping up today's episode, more MLB. What do you think are some possible teams that could maybe grab their division in the final month of the season or grab a wild card spot as we enter the postseason?
Well, obviously that AL Central race is super, super fun to watch. You got a bunch of great teams pushing for one spot. The Guardians currently hold it. Royals not too far back. But I'm going to be a reverse homer here and be be super negative. The Red Sox sit 3 games back. There is not a chance they get into the playoffs right now. That team is floundering, first off, and we're just not very good. We have no pitching. I think this is a team that if we buy in the offseason, could be fine. But this playoff race is super exciting coming down the wire here. I want to see the Orioles beat the Yankees. I think they won't, though. I just think the Yankees have too much on their team to lose that AL East battle. But I think for the American League, it's pretty much locked up what you're going to see. I don't think you'll see any movement, actually. I think you'll see Yankees 1, Guardians 2, Astros 3, Orioles 4, Royals 5, Twins 6. I think it'll stay that way all the way to the end. But in the National League, this is just so tight. You have so many good baseball teams in the National League. They cannot separate themselves. But once again, I don't think you're going to see the division leaders change. The Cubbies aren't going to beat the Brewers 9.5 games back. That's basically locked up. The Dodgers 4-game lead over the Diamondbacks. I'd be shocked if they blew that.
Mm-hmm.
Although the Diamondbacks are playing some great baseball. And the Phillies 6 games on the Braves. I don't see them blowing that. So I think the division winners are all but locked up in the NL. But that wild card race is super fun to watch. Once again, I hate to squish out all the fun, but I just have a hard time seeing anyone getting in front of the Diamondbacks, the Padres, or the Braves. Maybe the Mets can sneak in there, but I don't know. Those just seem like the best 6 teams in the NL, and the best 6 teams in the AL right now. It seems like they're already in the position they need to be in.
Yeah, I think nationally, what you were just saying, Mets and Braves is really exciting as we close the season. I feel like the Mets have really been fighting and scrapping for wins all year long, and the Braves, I mean, they've undergone so much injury, but they've just continued to hold on to that spot. They have a 3-game lead, but I do think the Mets could get hot down the stretch. I think they are a better team than the Braves, so I think any late in the year series between the two teams could swing the Mets' way, maybe give them a slight edge heading into the end of the year. And going back into the AL, I'll say a sleeper team. I'll go with, the Mariners. Their pitching is tremendous. Their hitting has been awful. No other way to put it. But I just think this is a team that could get hot. And you look at the AL West, isn't a very strong division this year. So I think end of the year games against the A's and the Angels could just be the extra wins that the Mariners need to propel them to the playoffs. Yeah, I could see them grabbing the last wild card spot, but obviously not if this offense improves. But if it does, and if they could just get hot for 2 or 3 series, they're right back in the discussion for the wild card spot. Maybe even their own division with the Astros only 4 games ahead. So I think that is a team that maybe could do something in the last month of the year. But other than that, I guess all the AL divisions are pretty close. I do see the Guardians holding on, and I do see the Yankees holding on against the Orioles. Sure, the Yankees just had that rough series against Washington, but I do think the Yankees will begin to they were starting to pull it back together heading into that series. I think that's just a minor blip that they'll move past. The pitching wasn't exactly the greatest, a couple rough games, but moving forward, I believe they play tonight, Yankees versus Cardinals at home. That'll be a big series for them to hope extend the lead. And I think the Orioles aren't exactly hot enough to keep gaining ground, so I like the Yankees to win that division. But yeah, guys, that'll do it for this episode. Carter, thank you for joining us once again. Everyone, make sure I'll tag him in my post. Make sure to go follow Carter Masterson Media on Instagram. Thank you guys for listening, and it's Harry Tidwell signing.